I never thought I'd be writing something like this, but here I am. My name's Jake, and I want to tell my story because maybe someone out there needs to hear it. It's about how I found out my wife, Emily, was cheating on me right during our engagement weekend. Yeah, the weekend we were supposed to be celebrating finally tying the knot. That's how it started, perfectly horrible. We met in college, everything seemed perfect at first. Emily was stunning, blonde, blue eyes, a smile that could light up a room. We clicked instantly, and I knew I wanted to spend my life with her. We got engaged about a year ago, right after I got a great job promotion. Things were good, or so I thought. We had plans, big plans. We talked about a house, kids, traveling. I was happy, confident she was the one. But all that changed during our engagement weekend. It was supposed to be a celebration, a weekend in the mountains. We had friends coming, family coming, everyone was excited. But in the days leading up to it, I started noticing little things. Emily's phone was glued to her hand, more than usual. She'd hide it when I'd walk into the room, and I could hear her whispering sometimes, loud enough to catch parts of her side of the conversation. She'd get these texts late at night, and when I asked her about them, she'd brush it off with a bitchy attitude, saying I was paranoid or insecure. "That's her favorite line, 'you're just insecure,'" she'd say with that sarcastic smirk. Then there were the little lies. She'd say she was going out with her friends, but I'd see her texting someone named Chris at odd hours. I brushed it off at first, thinking maybe it was just a friend, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. That weekend, we went to a local winery with our friends. Emily was acting strange, distracted, nervous. She kept excusing herself to take calls or send texts. I noticed her phone was missing a lot that night, and I found it later hidden under her pillow. When I looked at the messages, I almost threw up. The texts were from Chris, and they weren't just friendly. They were flirty, suggestive even. She was talking about how much she admired his abs, how she wished she could see him again. And that was just the tip. I confronted her about it the next day, and her reaction was honestly disgusting. She told me I was imagining things, that I was insecure, jealous even, and that I needed to trust her. She kept calling me paranoid, said I was overreacting. That's when I started digging. I couldn't believe I had missed it for so long. I was blindsided by her lies. I found out she'd been texting Chris for months, secret late-night messages, stolen moments. And during our engagement weekend, she cheated on me with him. I saw pictures on her phone, screenshots of their sex chats, flirty selfies, plans to meet up again. Somehow she thought she could get away with it. She told me she loved me, that I was the only one, that she'd never cheat. But she was lying the whole time, and it hit me like a ton of bricks. I was furious. Not just disappointed, not just betrayed. I felt like my whole world had shattered in an instant. How could she do this? After everything we'd been through, after all the promises, I'd never felt this kind of pain before. The betrayal wasn't just about the cheating. It was about the lies, the deception, the way she played me for a fool. I didn't sleep that night. I just sat there, staring at the ceiling, trying to process what I had discovered. I kept asking myself how I missed the signs, how I'd been so blind to her cheating, how I could even look at her the same way again. And then the worst part hit me. She's now pregnant with his baby. That's what she told me after I confronted her. She admits nothing at first, just a lot of bullshit about how it was a mistake, how she still loved me, and how she didn't want to hurt me. But her eyes, those cold, bitchy eyes, said everything. That she'd been lying to me for months, sneaking around, having sex with him while I thought she was planning our future. I felt my stomach drop, my blood boil. I wanted to lash out, scream, break something. But I just stood there, trying to hold it all together. I guess I'll stop here for now. That's where I'm at, drowning in a mix of anger, heartbreak, and betrayal. The woman I loved, the woman I was supposed to marry, had been cheating on me with my best man, and now she's pregnant with his kid. How do you even recover from something like that? After I found out about the pregnancy, everything changed. The shock turned into pure rage. I felt like I was walking around in a fog, but every time I thought about her lying, cheating, sneaking around, it all came back in a flood of anger. I couldn't believe I'd been so blind. I mean, I knew Emily was bitchy and manipulative, but I never thought she'd go this far. Cheating during our engagement, sneaking with my best man, and now she's pregnant. It's like my entire world was crashing down around me. I remember the moment I saw her face when I confronted her. She was standing in our living room, arms crossed, trying to look innocent but failing miserably. She kept lying, saying it was just one night, that she didn't mean for it to happen, that she loved me, and that the baby was not his, not really. Yeah, right. She's a master at lying. Her words felt like nails in my head. I could see through her bullshit. She's good at pretending to be the victim, crying about how she's so sorry, how she made a mistake, like she's the one suffering here. I wanted to shake her, scream at her, tell her she's a manipulative bitch who's ruined everything, but I didn't. I just stood there trying to stay calm, trying to process everything. Inside, I was a mess. Rage, sadness, betrayal, it was all there. I asked her straight up, "Are you serious? You cheated on me with my best man and now you're pregnant with his kid. How could you do this?" Her eyes flicked. She tried to lie some more, said it was just sex, that she didn't mean for any of it to happen. She kept saying she still loved me, that she'd fix this, that she'd be a good mother. But I didn't believe her. How could I? I couldn't even look at her without feeling sick. I kept thinking about all the good times, all the plans we made. And now all I saw was her betraying me at every turn. It's a betrayal that cuts deep. How do you forgive someone who's been lying to you for so long? How do you even face her after knowing she's carrying another man's child? The worst part, I knew she was lying about something else, about the whole pregnancy. I had a gut feeling that she was hiding something, covering for him, trying to manipulate the situation. That's what she's good at, lying, twisting words, making me question what I saw. I started doing some digging on my own. I couldn't just accept her word. I checked her phone again, looked at her social media, and found more proof. Texts where she was still talking to him, more flirty messages, plans to meet up, even pictures of her with her hand on her belly smiling like she was happy. The worst part, I saw her lying to her parents, hiding her pregnancy, pretending everything was fine. She'd come up with all these stories about how she was just stressed, how she needed space, how she was confused. But I knew better. I knew she'd been planning this all along, sneaking around behind my back. I remember the day I finally decided I'd had enough. I told her I wanted her out of the house. I couldn't have her lying, cheating, pretending like nothing was wrong. We argued and she threw a fit, crying and screaming, saying I was overreacting, that I was paranoid. That's her favorite tactic, make me look crazy for even suspecting her. But I wasn't crazy. I had all the proof I needed. I told her I was done, that I was done with her lies, with her manipulation, with her. She looked at me with that bitchy smirk, but I saw the fear behind her eyes, and honestly, that made me feel a little better. The emotional toll, it's been brutal. I keep waking up at night replaying everything. I feel hollow, betrayed, like I lost the woman I thought I knew. But at the same time, I'm furious. Furious at her for what she's done, furious at myself for trusting her, for not seeing the signs. I feel like I've been punched in the gut, left to pick up the pieces of a life I thought was perfect. She's pregnant with his kid, and I don't even know if I can look at her without feeling like I'll explode. I guess I'm still trying to figure out what comes next. Do I fight for this? Do I walk away and start over? Honestly, I don't have all the answers right now. I just know that my trust is shattered, and I don't know if I can ever look at her the same way again. All I know is that the woman I loved, the woman I was supposed to marry, turned out to be a liar and a cheat. And it hurts more than I can even put into words. After I collected enough evidence and saw her lying through her teeth, I knew I couldn't keep living in this nightmare. I told her to pack her things and leave. She threw a tantrum, crying, screaming about how she loved me, how she made a mistake, and how she was sorry, but I didn't buy any of it. Her face was all bitchy, full of contempt, like I was the one making her life difficult. She kept insisting that I was overreacting, that it's not what it looks like, and that she still cared, but I could see right through her. She's good at lying, good at twisting everything around to make herself look innocent. The worst part was watching her leave. She acted like she was the victim, like I was the one ruining everything. She stormed out, saying she'd be back, that she'd prove she loved me, that it was all just a mistake. Yeah, right. I sat there in silence, staring at the empty doorway, feeling like my heart was being ripped out of my chest. I never thought I'd be the guy to get betrayed like this, especially not by my own wife-to-be. It hit me hard. This wasn't just a fling, it was a full-blown betrayal of everything we'd planned. And now she's pregnant with his kid, and I'm left drowning in a sea of anger, heartbreak, and confusion. In the days that followed, I started doing what I do best, digging. I couldn't let her manipulate her way out of this. I went through her phone again, searched her social media, and found even more proof. She was still texting him, secret messages, flirty pics, plans to meet. I saw her trying to hide the pregnancy from her parents, trying to keep everything secret, but I'd already seen enough. She thought she could fool everyone, but I knew the truth. And here's the thing she lied about. The pregnancy, too. She told me it was not his, that she was confused, but I had a feeling she was covering for him. I confronted her one last time, demanding to know the truth. She looked at me with her bitchy smirk, then finally blurted out, "Yes, it's his. I'm pregnant with Chris's baby, and honestly, I don't care what you think anymore." That's when I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach all over again. She was so cold, so dismissive. It was like she didn't even care about the damage she'd done. I felt like I was losing my mind. How could she do this? How could she tear apart everything we built in just a few days? I'd never felt this kind of pain before, anger, sadness, confusion, all mixed together. I kept asking myself if there was any way to fix this, but deep down I knew it was over. She's a manipulative bitch, and she's been lying to me for months. Now she's pregnant with another guy's child, and I'm just supposed to accept it. No way. In that moment, I realized I had to make a choice. I couldn't keep living in this chaos, this betrayal. I decided I'd walk away, no matter how much it hurts. I told her I wanted nothing to do with her anymore, that I was done being the fool. She tried to guilt me, to make me feel guilty for what she called abandoning her and her baby, but I didn't care. I knew I deserved better than this. I deserved someone honest, someone who wouldn't lie and cheat and play me for a fool. The aftermath was a blur of emotions. I felt like I was walking through a fog, angry, broken, betrayed. I had lost my fiancée, my future wife, and I wasn't even sure who I was anymore. I had to start rebuilding my life from scratch. That included cutting her out completely, blocking her numbers, deleting her from social media. I didn't want her manipulating me anymore. I wanted to heal, but I knew it would take time. Looking back now, I realize I learned some hard lessons. Trust is fragile, and some people will betray you no matter what. You think you know someone, and then one day, everything falls apart. But I also learned that I'm stronger than I thought. I survived the worst betrayal of my life, and I'm still here. It hurts like hell, but I'll get through this. I have to. And one thing I know for sure, never ignore the signs. Don't let someone manipulate or lie to you. Because when it's all said and done, the truth always comes out. The weeks that followed were a nightmare I couldn't wake up from. Every morning I'd wake up feeling like I'd been run over, my mind replaying her lies, her tears, her cold words. I was stuck in this whirlwind of betrayal, trying to piece my life back together while feeling like I was losing my mind. I had to go through her things, clear out anything that reminded me of her, and cut off all contact. It was the only way I could start to breathe again, even if it felt like I was just holding my breath waiting for the storm to pass. During that time, I started noticing how many people knew about her pregnancy, her family, her friends, even some of our mutual friends. Everyone was talking, and honestly, I didn't care. I was too busy trying to keep my shit together. But what really pissed me off was how she was spinning this whole thing. She told her family she was confused, that it was just a mistake, and that I was abandoning her because I couldn't handle the truth. Yeah, right. She's good at lying, but I knew the truth was much uglier. She was using that pregnancy as a weapon, trying to make me feel guilty for leaving her, for rejecting her lies. I remember her sister calling me, saying how upset Emily was, crying about how I'd abandoned her and her unborn child. I just told her, she's not the victim here. She's the one who lied, cheated, and played me for a fool. I can't be part of this anymore. I didn't want to talk about her anymore. I wanted to focus on myself, on healing. But deep down, I knew I'd never forget what she did. That betrayal was seared into my soul. One of the hardest parts was dealing with the fact that she kept insisting she loved me, that she wanted to fix this, even after everything. She kept texting me, begging me to come back, saying she'd change, that she'd stop lying. I just deleted her messages. I couldn't deal with her fake tears anymore. I knew she was just trying to manipulate me, playing the victim to get her way. She's a manipulative bitch, and I finally saw her for what she really is. I also started talking to close friends, trying to make sense of it all. They told me I deserved better, that I shouldn't let her tear me down. But inside, I felt like I'd lost a part of myself. How could someone I trusted so completely turn out to be this manipulative, lying bitch? It shook my confidence, made me question everything I ever believed about love and loyalty. I started wondering if I was the fool all along, trusting her, believing in her lies, thinking she was the one for me. I remember one night, I was sitting alone, staring at the ceiling, feeling like I was drowning. Then I looked at myself in the mirror and just said, "You've got to be strong. You didn't deserve this, and you're better than this." That's when I decided I wouldn't let her break me. I'd rebuild my life piece by piece. I'd focus on my career, my family, my own happiness. I didn't want to be bitter, but I knew I'd be cautious from now on. Trust is earned, and she proved she's not worth my trust anymore. The emotional scars are still there, though. I catch myself thinking about her sometimes, wondering if she's really happy with Chris and the baby. I hope she is. I hope she's finally gotten what she wanted, her lie, her deception, her betrayal. But I also wish she'd never come into my life in the first place. I feel like I lost a lot, my dreams, my trust, my future, but I also gained clarity. I learned not to ignore the signs, not to overlook red flags, and to value myself enough to walk away from someone who doesn't deserve me. People say time heals everything, but I know better. Time doesn't erase what's happened. It just helps you learn how to carry it. I'm still carrying a heavy load, but I'm moving forward. I don't know what the future holds, but I know I won't let her betrayal define me. I'll come out stronger, and someday, I hope, I'll find someone who's honest, faithful, and real. Because this experience taught me that some people are just toxic, and it's okay to walk away from that toxicity. You don't owe anyone your happiness, especially not someone who's lied to you from the start. After I managed to get some distance from her, I realized I needed to do something about this chaos she left behind. I couldn't just walk away and pretend it didn't happen. There were too many questions, too much pain embedded in every corner of my life. So I made a decision. I was going to confront the entire mess head-on, not just for closure, but for my own peace of mind. I needed to understand what truly went down, and I wanted her to face the consequences of her actions. First, I contacted her family, especially her mother. It was brutal. I didn't hold back. I told her the truth about the affair, the pregnancy, the lies. I didn't want her to be in the dark anymore, and I wanted them to understand what Emily had been hiding. Her mom was shocked, obviously, but she also seemed angry, angry at Emily for betraying her, and angry at me for not seeing the signs sooner. I explained everything. I knew, showed her the proof, and told her I didn't want anything more to do with Emily unless she was honest and willing to take responsibility. Then, I reached out to my own lawyer. I knew I needed legal advice, especially with all the emotional and financial mess that came with this. I wanted to protect myself, make sure I wasn't financially tied to her or her baby if things went south. Honestly, that was a bitter pill to swallow, knowing that I had to prepare for a future where she might try to manipulate or take advantage. I filed for a no-contact order, just to make it clear I wasn't interested in being involved in her life or her child's unless she was willing to be honest and respectful. Meanwhile, I started therapy. I needed help processing all of this, breaking down years of trust, betrayal, and heartbreak. The therapist helped me see that my feelings were valid, anger, sadness, confusion, and that I shouldn't suppress them. I learned to set boundaries, to prioritize my mental health, and to remind myself that I deserve someone honest. The pain still lingers, but I was slowly finding ways to cope, to rebuild my sense of self. In the midst of all this chaos, I also decided to focus on myself. I started hitting the gym again, reconnecting with old friends, and picking up hobbies I'd let slide. I realized I'd been living for her, for a future she ruined. Now, it was about reclaiming my life piece by piece. I refused to let her define me or break me entirely. One day, while I was out for a walk, I saw a couple holding hands, laughing, and just living in the moment. It hit me that I might never get that with Emily again, but that I could find happiness elsewhere. Maybe in the future, I'd meet someone who's honest, who respects me, and who values loyalty. I knew I had to stay cautious, but I also knew I couldn't let her betrayal destroy my faith in love completely. This whole experience has changed me, made me more guarded, but also more aware. I learned not to ignore the red flags, not to dismiss my gut feelings. I've come to accept that some people aren't worth the pain they cause, and walking away is sometimes the only way to save yourself. I don't regret standing up for myself, even if it hurts, because at the end of the day, I know I did the right thing, and I'll keep moving forward one step at a time until I find my way back to happiness. Looking back now, I realize that this entire ordeal has reshaped my understanding of trust and resilience. I never thought I'd be the guy to go through something so profoundly painful, betrayed by someone I loved, by someone I thought was my future. But here I am, still standing. Not unscathed, not unbroken, but stronger in ways I never knew I could be. This experience, as brutal as it was, forced me to confront parts of myself I'd been avoiding. It's made me more cautious, yes, but also more aware of what I deserve. I've learned that betrayal cuts deep, but it also teaches you the importance of setting boundaries. I'll never ignore the red flags again, and I'll never let someone manipulate my trust so easily. I've become more protective of my heart, but I haven't given up on love altogether. I know there are good people out there, people who are honest and loyal, and I refuse to let this one toxic woman ruin my faith entirely. It's going to take time, sure, but I believe in healing. Most importantly, I've come to understand that I don't need someone like Emily in my life. I don't need lies, manipulation, or a partner who doesn't respect me enough to be truthful. I deserve honesty and loyalty, and I won't settle for less. This whole mess has been a heavy lesson, but I'm grateful for the clarity it's given me. I now see more clearly what I want, what I don't want, and what I refuse to tolerate anymore. So I'm moving forward, slowly but surely. I'm rebuilding my life, my confidence, my self-respect. I've cut her out completely, no contact, no looking back. I've accepted that some people aren't worth the pain, and sometimes walking away is the bravest thing you can do. I still feel the sting of her betrayal, but I also feel a sense of liberation. Because I finally see that I am enough just as I am. To anyone out there going through something similar, trust me, you're not alone. It hurts, it's messy, and it may feel like the end of the world for a while. But it's not. It's just the beginning of a new chapter. One where you value yourself more, where you refuse to accept anything less than honesty, and where you finally realize that your happiness is worth fighting for. I may have lost a lot, but I gained something much more important, myself. And no matter how dark it gets, I know I will find the light again.